Hi all, welcome to the Scottish Premiership kind of predictions, and also just tapping into individual teams and so forth, because we're going to kind of been meaning to do this all week, and we just kind of keep putting it off and keep putting it off, try to find some time and so forth, but we've got it sorted at last. So thought, look, because Scottish football's kind of our thing, we should kind of hopefully have a good idea of the teams, but also where the league will go since the lockdown has ended, in a sense, for Scottish football for now. But obviously it's just new season and new kind of like approach, I suppose, because it's not going to be easy with no fans being in the grounds, but obviously with how clubs are kind of implementing approaches, it's going to be interesting regardless. But if you're a Scottish football fan, you're welcome to get involved, give your feedback, and I'm hoping to actually finally get a consistent routine with this. Hopefully get not just the Scottish Premiership, but try and cover Championship, League 1, League 2, and also try and see if I can tap into those that I know within Scottish football and try and get their kind of viewpoints as well. Would be awesome. Not a guarantee obviously, but we'll see how things progress as the season goes. So welcome to get involved, folks. Welcome to smash like, sub to the channel if you're new, follow me on Twitter at GTheLegend. All links are down below for posting the channel and social media links as always. So starting off with Aberdeen, might as well start from kind of alphabetical order within the teams. Aberdeen have only made 2 signings as we speak, of Johnny Hayes obviously coming in from Celtic. Big thing from that is apparently he has obviously agreed to no wages for a year or something due to everything going on, keep everything financially secure, and Tommy Hoban was unattached as well. I'm sure he actually was part of the team, could be wrong. They've also got Ryan Edmonson actually on loan from Leeds, which will be interesting. But talking about interesting from an Aberdeen view, Sam Cosgrove's out for 4 months, so he'll be out till basically Christmas. Obviously they had an offer for 2.5 million from Guingamp. That was accepted by Aberdeen, but obviously Cosgrove declined going to France. I can understand why, and also maybe he feels he's maybe worth a lot more as well than 2.5 million. He might think he's worth like 3 or 4 million, regardless of circumstance. Then obviously for those that went out, Danny Rogers, he's now at Kilmarnock, Frank Cross, Sam Jackson, Luke Boland, Lloyd Robertson, Seb Ross, Jack Chesser, Sean Linden, Chris Antonazzi, David Ananga, Kieran Shanks, Kyle Dallin, and loans of Greg Lee and John Gallagher back to Breda and Atlanta respectively. But for me, Aberdeen, I think will finish 4th or 5th. If they can manage without Cosgrove's injury, they may get into 3rd, but I feel 3rd, 4th and 5th is going to be competitive regardless between Hibs, Aberdeen, Motherwell and maybe even Kilmarnock, but we'll see how that goes. Celtic, they're going for 10 in a row. Could they do it? That is the big question. I think they will, but at the same time they're not really doing enough at the moment bringing in to kind of convince me that they could at the same time. Yes, Rangers are doing some business themselves and are determined to go for it, but I feel Celtic potentially could have one eye on trying to have a good European run this year and at times slip up against like your Dundee United or a Hibs or whatever, but they turn up against Rangers for example. But we'll see how it goes. Vasilis Barkas from AEK Athens, that's good signing. He's like probably the best goal for what I've seen in the Greek league. I would say he's the best goalie within the league. PAOK and Olympiacos have good goalies in their teams respectively, but I feel Barkas is the best goalie within the league. El Yunusi back in for another season's a good deal. Hopefully he can do the business. Obviously Craig Gordon's out now. Siminovic, his contract expired. Kouassi to Genk for 1.3 million. I was like, that's some deal that for Celtic, because he never really materialised for them. I'm surprised he actually signed for Genk for that amount of money as well, especially with him being injured. So that was quite a strange transfer. But Fraser Forster, Daniel Arzani, Moritz Bow, their loans all ended respectively. Arzani obviously was injured for like a year, and Jack Kendry is now in Belgium with Ostend. He's been loaned out. Dundee United obviously at the moment have kept Shankland, which could be the difference between him staying up and going down. Mickey Mellon's now in charge over Robbie Nielsen, and I feel Mellon will do well. The big thing with Robbie Neilson is that the team especially has found themselves in a bit of a problem. Before the lockdown they were kind of in a bit of a rut with form, and the team just didn't seem to be on point, and I feel the fans seem to be under the impression that I think he could have went anyway, so they maybe done the right thing by getting rid of him. So I think Mellon coming in is just a fresh set of eyes, fresh approach, and might just do all the difference. But we'll see how that one plays out, obviously. But I feel Dundee United could be about, say, 9th this season, maybe 10th, but I think they'll do enough to stay up. But that bottom 3 or 4 teams will be tight regardless. Hamilton, every year it's always a question of will they stay up, will they stay down. This could be the year, I feel. Like, they do always seem to do enough, but I feel this year that I don't feel they've brought in the players that could make a difference. I feel they've lost too many useful players that could have kept them up. Like, they've lost Gogic to Hibs, they've lost Aaron McGowan, Michael Miller, Blair Alston's a good midfielder. Obviously just been unlucky with injuries, but I feel that's where they kind of lack. Like, I feel they may just do enough. They might, last year, because before the lockdown, they may have went down, but I'll be honest, I feel they would have still done enough. They always seem to just do enough. This year they may just struggle. I feel it's either going to be 11th or 12th for them, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're like 10th, if you know what I mean. But we'll see how that goes. But I feel Hamilton will do pretty well this season at times. Hibs, obviously my team, Dre Wright, Alex Gogic, Kevin Nisbet's the 3 signings in, and quite a lot out. Bogdan went to Ferencvaros in Hungary, Stephen Whitaker's now at Dunfermline, Kosovar Siddiqui's now in Finn Hartford Island, Slivka's contract ran out, same for Jack Hodge and Matt Yates. Loans have ended for Omeyonga, Greg Docherty, Jason Naismith and Mark McNulty. Dre Wright will be hopefully a useful addition, but Gogic is what we need. Someone in front of that back four that will completely make a difference. I feel that, like, we need a Marvin Bartley type, and that's what I feel Gogic will bring. I just feel the only issue with Gogic is the length of contract. I feel if it had been 3 years it would have been better, but we'll see how it goes. Like, 2 years I can understand, but 3 years would have been preferable on. And Nisbet I feel will be a good signing regardless. £250,000, yes, it's a big spend. I know they could have probably tried their hardest like a year ago for Shankland or whatever, but Nisbet I feel has a point to prove because he was released by Hibs as a youngster, and he's kind of shown the last couple of years that he has really kicked on. So like, he's going to use Shankland as a motivation to say, look, well, Shankland got into the Scotland squad, I can do the same. I think that's what Nisbet hopefully can do. Him and Doig up front. I feel if they can keep most of the team, especially Martin Boyle, I feel they have a good chance this season. I feel they could get third, but I feel they're between third and fifth. But I feel if they can get a good run of form going early and get settled in and hopefully keep Boyle and maybe just kind of add just extra additions where necessary, maybe hopefully get Omeyonga back or McNulty or Doherty. As long I think this Canberry saga is going to be a big part. Hopefully get that dealt with at last. If he wants to go to St Gallen or Basel or Young Boys, then let him go. But I feel that's where he's possibly heading back to, is Switzerland. In terms of Kilmarnock, for them they've obviously been quite busy bringing Aaron Shibboleth back for a third spell. Then obviously Danny Rogers in net as well, because goalkeeping wise Kilmarnock have went through quite a bit of changes. They had a couple of loanees ended in Branescu, and obviously they've let go Jamie McDonald, but I feel it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see how Danny Rogers kind of does as a number one potentially. They've obviously brought Jake Eastwood from Sheffield United as well, so they've got 2 goalies in right away, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But Hornstruck from Portsmouth is another notable face which could do some good business, but it is worth noting as well with Kilmarnock they have let out quite a lot of players. Stephen O'Donnell's quite another noticeable one. He let his contract run out, wouldn't sign a contract extension, and he's still yet to sign with anyone, oddly enough. So he could be one of these free agents that someone may or may not sign. It's a different matter, obviously. But yeah, that's a kind of strange one. But I feel Kilmarnock, under Alex Dyer, I feel might just get in the top 6. They might be 6th, I feel, or 7th. But I feel they're a good enough team. It's just where all the players that they've let go and like the players that they've brought in, it's like, will it make that much of a difference? Livingston, for me, they just go about their business, nothing fancy, nothing, and they just do some good work. Obviously, Chris Erskine and Stephen Lawless and Ricky Lamy, they're kind of some of the notable players that have left the team. So that may or may not impact them too much. Robbie McCrory back obviously to Rangers. But for those that are, Fitzwater is an interesting defender that they've brought in, obviously from West Brom. If you've relatively young defender, could be a shrewd addition. He may not, but for what I've know of him, that's an interesting option. And Poplanatic I've know of as well a bit, even though he's played mostly in India. He's quite a bit of a journeyman to a slight extent, but I still feel he may help out forward line, especially since Dolly Menga's been released as well. So it's going to be interesting for Livy. They may be 6th or 7th this season. It will be a difficult season, I feel, for them, potentially, with how things may go. Motherwell, they have made quite a lot of signings. They've obviously got Ricky Lamy in for Livingston, Scott Fox from Party, which is an interesting bit of business, John White, Mark O'Hara, Callum Lang, Jake Hasty on loan. Obviously they've let go Richard Tate, who's went to St Mirren, Peter Hartley. So, and obviously then the loan of Rolando Aarons ended as well. I know he didn't do too much, but they've still managed to keep like Gallagher, which could be quite a big bit of business for them. But I feel for me it's going to be that forward line. If they can keep consistent with how they played, and Trevor Carson is probably one of the best goalies out with the league, out with like Aberdeen, Celtic and Rangers. So we'll see how Motherwell play. Could they get third again this season? It's hard to say, but I'm sure they'll make a good go of it regardless. Now Rangers, they have obviously got to focus hard on trying stopping the 10. That is what everyone will tell you. Like, Rangers will try their absolute hardest, and obviously they've made Yanis Hadji's loan to permanent for £3 million. Jermaine Defoe's loan to permanent. Obviously he's injured as well, which is not ideal, but I'm sure they will try their hardest to try and get a deal sorted. They've also managed to bring in Leon Balogun, who's formerly of Wigan and Brighton, experienced defender. John McLaughlin from Sunderland, giving an alternative to McGregor, and he's got good experience in Scotland anyway from Hearts. Calvin Bassey, young defender from Leicester City, and Charlie Lindsay, James Graham from Glentoran and Ross County, and obviously letting Matt Polster, Jack Arnwick, John Flanagan, Andy Halliday, Fordringham, Jason Holt, Jordan Rossiter even kind of be a number of additions that are out the team. Could they stop the 10? For me, it would be ideal if they could, because it would give us a change. Like, that's all we need. We need change in Scottish football, where it be a different team winning the league, but also in more teams within the league. So but we'll see how it goes. Like, this is going to be a difficult season regardless. Celtic and Rangers, I feel this season, Rangers won't make the same mistakes before January, when it looked like they were the more consistent team, and then obviously the wheels fell off, and that's how they fell like 13 points behind, because they were losing silly points. And I feel this could be the time where they kind of they may rectify it, but the proof will be in the pudding, as it were. In the Morelos situation, if he goes to Lille for 15-18 million pounds, great business. It's who they bring in as an option. They've looked at Mirko Maric from Osijek, and then they've also been looking elsewhere, like Ivan Toney. I know he's been touted for Celtic as well, and then in Sam from Young Boys of Bern. So plenty of food for thought. Then with Ross County, Conor Randall, obviously he's been well travelled, former Liverpool defender and Hearts, so he could be a useful addition potentially. Carl Tremarco, another defender in the team, and then Iko Viti and Charles Cook from Gillingham and Oldham respectively, with Stephen Kelly coming on loan from Rangers. But for me, when I look at kind of how Ross County has done their business, they've let a lot of players go, mostly players that not necessarily would be in the first team, but like Richard Foster, Don Cowie, Marcus Fraser, Declan McManus, potentially some of those options. Like, I know I can understand with Richard Foster's situation because the attitude that was kind of going around the team, for what I understand, but regardless, I feel Ross County should do just enough. I feel they may still be one of these teams that may be in that bottom 3 or 4 teams in that kind of like mini relegation battle throughout the season. It depends if they can keep a half decent home form and just get the odd win and points away from home where necessary. So Johnston, obviously Callum Davison now takes over from Tommy Wright. Tommy Wright been managing at the team for a good number of seasons now, and had done his fair bit of hard work for the team, and fair play to him, in all honesty, done some fair wonders. And obviously they've Stephen Anderson, veteran defender as well, he's now at Forfar, done a lot of good work for them as well. And one transfer I was going to say that I was quite surprised that was a bit of a letdown for them was David McMillan. Sadly not doing the business for them, but is what it is. Craig Conway coming in from Salford, obviously had good experience now, spending quite a good chunk of his career in England, so I feel could do some good business. But St Johnstone, certainly, will be interesting to see how they now perform under a new manager. Could they keep around that like 6th, 7th place, or will they be fighting for relegation? It's hard to say. I think they will be a team that will probably finish maybe say around 7th or 8th. St Mirren, another team that I feel could just be fighting for just staying up this season, and they will try their hardest, but I suppose we'll find out in due course. Jack Alnwick coming in from Rangers, Richard Tate, so I feel they've improved quite well defensively. Tate, Shaughnessy and Marcus Fraser, and then bringing in Nathan Sheron and Isaac Thorvaldsen from Fleetwood and Norwich respectively, and then obviously the biggest notable is Hladcave, the goalkeeper, going out. He was under a lot of transfer discussion, and don't be surprised to see him either end up at one of the other teams within Scotland or even a team in England. But there is talk, like, he's definitely been a useful player for them regardless, catching a lot of eyes. But then obviously Tony Andrews, Stephen McGinn, Owen Georgiev, Ross Wallace, Cody Cook, so they've definitely lost quite a lot of experienced hands, but and even young promise. But it will be interesting how they kind of go about it for this season ahead. But I feel St Mirren will be like between that 10th and 12th spot for me personally. But I feel there's still going to be a lot of interesting business. I feel obviously at the same time I'm of the mindset it shouldn't be a 12 team top division, it should be 16. But I'm just obviously one view. But I think this could be the most interesting season for a wee while for a number of reasons. But obviously proof will be in the pudding. Let me know your thoughts obviously on everything, folks. If you're interested, so smash likes always, sub to the channel if you're new, follow me on Twitter, G's Legend, take easy all, thanks for watching, and I will catch you all later.